my reading, my learning, my workouts, my diet. When you start neglecting all of that, you neglect one of them, you can neglect all of them a long time. It's going to haunt you. When you start seeing that, my God, I haven't eaten right in a long time. I haven't been sleeping right in a long time. It can only be one of those things to take you off. I'm very aware of my eating, my sleeping, my disciplines of life. And when I started to get too far away from them, it's a hard stop. And the only thing that gets me mad nowadays is that so many people die with untapped potential because they think that someone else is better than them. And they were born not with the greatest tools. You need the ability to grind your ass into a fine powder. And when you're in that fine powder, find a way to build that back up repeatedly. And it's possible. When you come from a small town and you come from a place that a lot of people don't want to come out of it and get out of it, and all you want to do is become somebody, you've got to be able to get out and let your mind see open-mindedness. Because a small town, what it does to you is it closes your mind, completely closes your mind. Not everybody. This isn't everybody, a lot of people. You have to be able to go out there and create open-mindedness. You need space. You need space to see the world. Like a lot of racism, a lot of ignorance in the world, it comes from people not being out and seeing other things, seeing other people. That's why we judge so harshly, because our minds are so closed to the reality of life, period. Self-esteem was built at a young age. I had 0. So that's why that discipline for me was important. It takes nothing to be a loser. And that's why I hold most people to a higher standard, because I know how little it takes, little ability. Like you need no talent, you need no greatness inside of you, and you can still be a bad mother. You have to be open-minded to the possibilities that I can do this. Once you shut your mind down to the possibility that it can be achieved, there's no way it can happen. So that's why my eyes and my body light up about things, because I know that if you're in a fight, you have to attack. You have to keep attacking. The enemy has to know he is not going to give up. You must break the soul of whatever the fuck is in front of you. That's what I realized. I was never breaking the soul of anything in front of me. I started to devise ways to break a soul of a human being, of an object, of whatever's in front of me. If you keep on attacking something, nothing wants to stand in front of anything that is relentless. Nothing. I'm the hardest working guy that doesn't talk about it. So basically, I don't take any days off as far as working out. First thing in the morning time is you have to build your confidence. And every day you're constantly gaining and losing confidence. You're never staying the same. So how you build your confidence is, if you like what you see in that mirror, that's how you start your day off. If you wake up and you look fat, you look out of shape, you not feel good, which is, or you don't feel good inside. So my whole big thing is get up and work out. Shed some calories. Get the adrenals going. Get the mind going. Get all that going. Every day I run. Every day I work out. A lot of people, what they do is they have these finish lines. And I have a saying that says, I don't stop when I'm tired, I stop when I'm done. When I was younger, I didn't have any goals. It's not really so much about goals, it's just to-do list. A to-do list. And as a human being, if you don't have a to-do list, you're going to sit back and just fade away. Even though people may not believe it, because I cuss, which is hilarious, I believe in God big time. I've had this voice in my head since I was a young kid, so what trained me was that voice. This voice in my head guided me to the spot where I'm at today. And if you don't believe that you're here for a reason, your life will seriously hurt. And I start looking at my life as God put me, whatever you believe in, put me here to go through this. And now I see all the hundreds of thousands of lives I'm changing by the hell I went through. There's a lot of power in that. So my purpose, as I started going through this journey, instead of looking at like, woe is me, God, man, why? I started looking at it as, it's the perfect training ground. You knew exactly what you were doing. You put me in every situation possible to tell a story that needed to be told. People don't really understand what that is. When you're in the worst environment possible, the worst situation possible, and everybody's looking like, God, man, I hope this ends. And you see that time slows down, you see that. You're feeling that. Everybody has that look on their face like, God, this got to go. I don't want to be anymore. And when I started realizing, I started playing mind games. I was like, you know what? I bet these fuckers looking at us, judging themselves about when they were going through Hell Week. About, let me see, I'm looking at Goggins right now. I was better than him. I was like, okay. You're going to judge me, right? All right. So this is what I'm going to do to you. They tell you how you're supposed to feel. You are feeling that way. I was like, don't let these motherfuckers tell you how you're supposed to feel. No, it's day one, motherfucker. This is hour one. So I was getting my boat crew all jacked up. I said, we're going to take these motherfuckers' souls. So when they had us doing this simple thing that guys were struggling with, I looked on the instructors' faces and it looked like someone had just with their soul. And I looked at my guys in my boat crew and I said, hey, guess what? We own space in their head. We own space. They're going to think about us tonight. We start fueling off the fact that, man, it takes 1 second of energy to steal everybody's. And then you have all the energy you need. That's all you need. You need to look at someone's eyes. You know how it is when you fight somebody and you broke that. He's like, oh God, man, I don't want to go back to the next round. And you feel like, my God, I can fight all day. I can fight all day long. That's what taking souls is. But you have to have the will, the heart, the courage to go that distance when you're exactly jacked up. You have nothing left to give and give more. I'm no longer a theorist. I'm now a practitioner. I put it in hell. I dissected it while it's in hell because you can't dissect anything in a normal environment. You can't dissect anything in 72-degree weather. You must put it in the fucking freezer and freeze, and then you dissect it. Dissect it when it's miserable. Dissect the brain when all it's thinking about is, I need to get out of here, man. I want to get out of the freezer. Open the door. And you said, nah, 5 more seconds, man. 5 more seconds in the freezer. And that's when you start to pick that brain apart. And that's what all this stuff did to me. I kept on putting myself back into the freezer or the fire and beating out of myself, mentally and physically. Before I knew it, this is what happened. Most of us fail in life because we're afraid of what everyone around you is thinking. That's 100% true. That's the one thing I realized. I walked around and I put these people on a pedestal. Everybody was better than me. So I can't tell you anything about me because you're going to judge me and I'm going to feel even worse than what I am. I want you to go there with me. I'm taking you there with me. I'm a storyteller. I want to take your ass down paradise. So the house I lived in Buffalo, New York, that I got my ass beat every day, funny. We lived on Paradise Road. And it was anything but paradise. So I want you to go there with me. You want to learn from me? Let me take your ass home. Let me take you there. So that's the whole thing about it, man. We're scared to dive into our lives. What made us who we are? The beautiful people that we are. We're all jacked up in so many ways. That's the beauty of us. That's the beauty of me. I'm jacked up. But I figured out my own little process on how to get unjacked up and how to. I'm not going to get the same, I'm not going to get the same way you're going to get there. You may get there by going point A to point B. I might go point C to D to E to F. I'm going to be there the same way you are, just a little harder. And that's how I train my brain. So it's just different. It was a different thinker. I always fix the things on the surface. If I couldn't read and write, I learned to read and write. I would always fix these things on the surface level. And so whenever something hard would like raise its ugly head, I didn't have any kind of tools to handle it. Like, man, I thought I fixed this already, man. But no, I didn't go deep into the dungeon of my soul to say, okay, what is making you a quitter? What is making you a weak man? What is making you afraid? That's why I kept on quitting and going back to start or not knowing how to get through hard times. And that's why I always tell people, I'm not a theorist. I didn't study, I didn't study a book. I literally put myself in a fire repeatedly like a sword. You put a sword in the fire repeatedly and repeatedly. If you keep on doing that, you're going to get a nice sword. And then you keep on beating it. You got to beat the shit out of it. And that's what I am. Yeah. I became that. I said, okay, we can't quit. We got to figure out what is wrong with you. What's going on here? So I kept on putting the sword back in the daggone fire and I just beat it harder. And I beat it harder. Before I knew it, I started realizing, all right, man, the brain is starting to get hard. The brain is starting to get hard. After a while, I started learning more and more and more through pain and suffering. I started learning so much about stuff. Before I knew it, man, I built this beautiful car. I'm like, how did I do that? I know how to do it because I have all the tools. Through all the failure I went through trying to build this person who's Goggins. It's called raw accountability. Not just accountability where we find that nice, happy word. If you're fat, you look in the mirror and you say, wow, I eat a little too much. No, you're fat. You cannot say that to yourself. You have to make a list of the things that you don't like to do. This list should be very long. Like if you don't like making calls, the very first thing you should do is start making a ton of calls. Because why? That begins to own you. You start to drive yourself this way versus this way. But you'll figure out, if you start making a whole bunch of calls, if you like calling, call a lot. Guess what happens? You get over it. So what we do a lot is, I heard a lot of people say, triple down on this, triple down on most of your strength. No. That works for a lot of things. But when you're afraid and you don't have the courage, you have to triple down on your weaknesses and make that become where you start to guide yourself. Okay, I don't like calling. Today I'm making 100 calls. I'm gonna dial 100 times. What happens is, when I was younger, life and society made this big world with all these endless possibilities. My life made my possibilities this big because it made me afraid of all these different things. So all this stuff trapped my mind, it shackled my brain, it made me a prisoner within my own self, saying, this is all I can do. Because why? I'm afraid of this, I'm insecure over here, I got self-doubt over here, that behind me, good Lord, who knows what's behind me? I'm not gonna look behind me. So your life is this big. Versus it being like, I can do all this shit here if I start to break down these walls and barriers. And that's what I started realizing. I could become a Navy SEAL. I could become this, but I was afraid of the water. Think about this. Why are you gonna go be a Navy SEAL when all you do is play in the water? And we don't play, we're in it and we're living in it. So my mind is, I'm gonna go be a Navy SEAL. When you quit, your mind does this. Once you say, I'm not gonna quit, this is the 40%. When you quit, your mind says, we're done. So it doesn't expand. There's no expansion when you quit. When you say, this sucks, I'm drowning, I'm miserable, I'm suffering, I'm broken, but I'm not going anywhere. What happens to your mind is it does this. It says, he's not leaving. So we got to expand. We got to grow. We got to figure this thing out. So then these compartments in your brain start to work. They have to work. And then you start to engage parts of your mind that you never engaged before. But you can't engage it by sitting back in these nice chairs, drinking this nice water, talking to you, talking about what I want to do. So that's where the 40% thing comes in. It comes in when you're in suffer mode and you say, I'm not going to quit. You're forcing your brain now to operate on a level it's not used to, but then it becomes used to it. In times of need, even the hardest person forgets how badass they are. So I've been through a lot in my life. When you're going through a hard time right now, you forget all the hard time you endured. So the cookie jar is a reminder that, oh, I can get through this hard time right now, but you got to take a second or two to reach into the mental cookie jar. You got to open up and say, okay, man, I was in 3 hell weeks and I got through 2 of them. You know, I was in Ranger School. I saw these beatings. My mom's soon-to-be husband got murdered. All these things I endured alone. I had to remind myself of the strength and the power that I have, that it's in me. It's just a reminder of how badass you are in hard times, because, you know, we just forget that bad time consumes our mind. I see where I'm at today, but I know where I come from. I'm amazed at what a human being can actually do. So when I start talking to myself in the third person, it's strictly because I know that I literally made this human being out of a whole bunch of scraps. You know, I wasn't a mechanic. I wasn't a carpenter. So I didn't know how to do any of this. You know, I wasn't trained in how to build a human being from nothing. You know, like my mom didn't train me. My dad didn't train me. Life didn't train me. Well, life did train me. Correction. Look at his eyes, man. Have you seen his eyes? It looks like he has demons in his eyes. He looks so unhappy. The biggest thing is I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. You know, they're so missing the point, man. is a very focused, driven human being who found a buried treasure within himself. Not many people found it.
When you start off that you neglect can them a long time of them a long time it's gonna headache when you start saying that my good I have enter right in a long time sleep right now while look away it can think that take off I am very aware of my age my sleeping my displaces of life you can I start to get it's a hard stop and that thing gets me made new days is that so many people die with un- uninterrupted because they think that some else is from better than them then you can not with the greatest trolls you need the ability to grant you as into a fine power and when you as into fine power and when you in the fine power find a way to build that big back up responsibility it possible when you can from a similar simple you can from a place that a lot of people don't ever to come out of it and get out of it and all you want to do is because somebody you have out and let your mind see because a similar town what it does to you is it close your mind complete close your mind